Dr. Michael Gerson has worked with a diverse range of soldier, athlete, and clinical populations in the field of performance, sport, military, health, and clinical psychology. He is a core faculty member at John Fitzgerald Kennedy University in California, where he teaches sport performance psychology and mindfulness courses. In addition, Dr. Gerson is the Director of Mental Skills at Mission 60, a tribe of performance experts that merge Special Operations Forces veterans with behavioural science practitioners and researchers, blending the work of the practitioner with the academic. With this wide and varied background, Michael Gerson adds his perspectives to support understanding of the mental toughness concept and its application to all walks of life.
And mental toughness, as you said, if you want to be the best version of yourself, if you want to unlock potential, if you want to be more than a mediocre you, and if you want to surpass other people, not that it's all about comparing yourself to other people, but in the real world of sports, it comes down to, or it might come down to you and somebody else when you meet in the arena. And so for those reasons, I think developing mental toughness, whether it's the toughness part or the sensitive part, as long as you're making progress, as long as your heart's in it, as long as you're trying to get some real value of it and make a change in your life for the better, for you, for the relationships you're in, and for the world, which right now seems to be, we're stumbling on some dark times, it feels like.
Perhaps you're involved in organising these camps that are all about helping people to develop themselves, develop their resilience and the positivity. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you bring mental toughness into it?
Yeah, so I work for John F. Kennedy School of Sports Psychology at National University, and we have a real comprehensive internship program. So these are students who are trying to seek graduate degrees in sports psychology, become certified mental performance coaches. And in order to do that, you have to meet a certain threshold, a certain criteria of a number of hours of working with athletes or performers. And so we have 4 internship experiences that each student needs to go through. The first one is a summer camp. So we have students from all around the United States. It used to be the world, now the United States, as we're transitioning. And for 2.5 weeks, they showed up in the Bay Area, and we'd have anywhere from 2 groups of 10 to 12 to 3 or 4 groups, depending on how many students we had at that time. And they would go out and work with youths around the Bay Area. So it could be, let's say one group's working with a cheerleading camp for 1 week, and then the next week they're working with a baseball camp. And then the other group's working with, like skate like a girl, and then a leadership camp. And another one is working with at-risk youth, in a facility, and then working with a golf organization or soccer organization. So what they're doing is they are, I use a 4C model. So if I have 10 students, I break them up into 5 groups of 2, and each group is in charge of a different C. So the first day might be mental toughness. What's the definition? What is it? Why should we care? What is sports psychology? That type of information. And the second day would be one of the 4 C's, and we just run it all the way down the week. And this way, they are learning how to do the research, understand the concept, digest the information, use it in an applied way, and build a full program. So with complete days. So it might be an introduction, like 5 minutes of just shooting shit and getting to talk to the kids and warming them up. It might be an icebreaker. Then it might be a small 5 to 15 minute presentation, a small group activity, another 5 to 10, 15-minute presentation, large group, we're doing a lot of activities and running and integration of these concepts in an athletic endeavor. And then at the end of the day, doing some debriefs and breaking out into small groups. And so they're cobbling together, the 4 C's in a systematic way and delivering it to athletes in an applied manner. And they not only learn a lot, but they have a hell of a lot of fun too. And they're helping these kids.
Mm.
That sounds fantastic. I'd certainly love to kind of keep track on those developments. There's something else. Just kind of doing my research on you there, popped up was the Mission 60 stuff. I thought that looked really interesting. This kind of notion of deliberate discomfort. What's your work there?
Yeah, so I'm the mental skills director for Mission 60, and it's a really unique company, organization, performance consulting business. It basically takes former special forces operators from all branches, pairs them with social scientists, behavioral scientists, industrial organizational psychologists or performance psychologists. And we team up and we work with professional organizations in sports. We work with just businesses, Fortune 500, and just, your everyday mom and pop shop that's trying to make it and wants to, hone their skill set. And we have a whole curriculum designed around, the special forces mentality, some of the things that they have learned on the battlefield that they have tested through training, and then coupled with like the science and the research of human excellence. So it's pretty formidable way of bringing like those people that have lived in some of the harshest conditions, that have dealt with bullets flying past them, people trying to end them, and having to pull on some really toughness skills in the moment. Because you're running towards the fight, you're getting that flight taken away from you. You're not fleeing, but you have to run towards. So what are you going to do to moderate yourself and get the best in that type of stressful situation? And then we have the science part as well. So it's a nice blend. It's a nice combination. What we do a lot of times is we have the special forces operators. They have the sexy stories, of being in combat, of being in a VUCA, type of environment or atmosphere, and then we come up and support them with some of the latest research or some of the stuff from the applied field.
And because that's that kind of transition between research and practice is one that I'm always particularly interested in, because I think across psychology generally, and actually across a lot of allied professions as well, I'd say that it's something we don't do particularly well. My take on it is that people tend to be incredibly complicated, and then theoretical models have to be a simplification of the reality, and then what we see in applied becomes a simplification sometimes of that again, and it's quite easy then to drift. And I don't necessarily think it's one side or the other that's to blame, but how do you find kind of trying to marry up those two, which you certainly do in your professions, we'll call it, to what extent with mental toughness do you find you're able to kind of link research and practice?
Yeah, so I believe strongly in the science practitioner model. So using science and research to guide and direct the work that I do, and because I subscribe to that, I am constantly scouring the literature, the research, to try to make sense of new findings, and then be able to translate that in a simple way to my audience so that they can digest it understand it, and then do something with these concepts. Like, how do they weaponize, or how do they make these concepts action oriented? How do they live them? And that's not always easy, because models and theories out there, it takes time to be able to truly grasp them. There's so much research, so much information, a flooding of different orientations, and it's hard to know, which one is correct, which one is most true, which one has some strong backing behind it. So it can get very confusing and nebulous, trying to really come to a good understanding of what these concepts and ideas and models are, and then how to translate them so that people can use them in a real way. I hold on to a lot of different models, a lot of theoretical approaches that I subscribe to. And it's just something that really interests me. So I think that allows me to be very flexible, to meet people where they are, and not to jam something down, a consultee's throat, is to really pull their understanding of how they conceptualize performance. So what I try to do, like, let's say the 4C model, is you can go the education route, where you can be fire and brimstone, and this is what mental toughness is. But sometimes they're just not ready for it, or they'll reject it, or they have a different idea of an understanding of mental toughness. So I try to get the both of best worlds, some education, but also get a good understanding of what is your idea of performing at your best. What is mental toughness to you? So I have them actually, like my clients, and my students, develop their own model, and then also layer in and pump in over time, a lot of like the 4C information, or information from other areas, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that kind of idea of you have to meet people where they are. Right. I think that's a great way of expressing it. And I think sometimes that's where that sort of theoretical model into practice bit can collapse. It's kind of like, look, here's where the theory's at, and it's up to you to come to us. And I think really that's the important skill that the scientist practitioner has, where you have to be able to kind of park any I suppose any of your own defensiveness over the way that people might term something, or as long as you can kind of understand what their point, what their intention is behind it. Let's not get too bogged down in the words that they use, or perhaps some of the examples that they give.
Yeah, this is also why I think it's necessary to when you're creating a team, is to bring someone with a research background. This is something, when I worked with the military in 2006, and there was only 3 of us in the military. I think now there's hundreds of mental performance coaches. That was, I kept going to the, to my bosses, to the administration, saying, one of the first people we really need to bring on is a researcher, to legitimize what we're doing, to make sure that we have this open dialogue and communication. So it's not just what my mentor used to say, California hot tubbing. Like, there's some real meat behind it. There's some structure. There's a framework. And it's just not us bringing in what we believe mental toughness is based on our experience, or what what our audience wants, but some real tied true research structuring behind it.